Today, we've got just a little bit of business to take care of, but most importantly, as we look at the agenda, I am anxious to get an official update, and I'm sure everyone else is too, on the calculator modernization project. We will just very briefly let staff introduce themselves, since we have some new staff to be introduced, and then each of the subcommittee members, if you could just introduce yourself briefly as well. But I'll kick us off. I'm Regina Quick, and it is my pleasure to chair this subcommittee of the Georgia Child Support Commission. I presently serve as General Counsel and Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Human Services. Kurt?
All right. Thank you, Regina. My name's Kurt Bryan. I am the Program Manager for the Georgia Child Support Commission, and I'm employed by the Judicial Council, Administrative Office of the Courts.
And hey there all, I'm Noella U. Alvarez. I think for these purposes, I'm best described as immediate past staff attorney for the Child Support Commission. I was recently promoted to division director here at the AOC because our beloved director, Michelle Barkley, is slated to retire on August 1st. So I'm thrilled that my successor, Joanna Deering, is with us. I'll let her speak about herself, but she's very humble, and I want to call y'all's attention to the fact that she's both a CPA and a JD. So we're lucky to have her, and take it away, Joanna.
Hi, I'm Joanna Deering, and I am taking Noelle's place, as she said, as the staff attorney for the Child Support Commission. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I've been a practicing attorney since 2004, and part of that was in the family law arena. I'm very excited to work with y'all.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lazaro Quintanilla. I'm the program coordinator. I'm closing out on 4 months this month, but this is my first Tech Calc meeting. So I'm happy to be here and get another one under the belt. And I'm happy to be working with everyone. Thank you.
Great. Good deal. Judge Davis?
Judge Davis, I believe you're on mute.
Thank you for that reminder there. My name is Warren Davis. I'm with Gwinnett Superior Court. Been involved with the child support calculator since the onset. It's an interesting project over the years. It's evolved and kept getting better.
And Mr. Brigman, if you could welcome aboard. This is your first official meeting.
That's right. Thank you for having me. My name is Matt Brigman. I'm the assistant DA down here in Savannah, Georgia.
Well, to everyone, thanks for taking the time to do this. While we have a quorum, I know folks may need to come and go and take care of business depending on how long this takes us. But let's take a moment and address the meeting minutes. The last meeting of this subcommittee was October 18th, 2024. As the modernization project started. So do we have a quorum? Let's establish that. I believe we do. Is that correct to our staff attorney?
That's right. We now have 4 of our 5 members, and Anna Bolden has also joined us.
Great. Well, Anna, thank you for being with us. You want to just briefly introduce yourself for the record so that we have a full and complete record for those that may watch this recording.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Anna Bolden. I am an attorney in Athens. I spent 8 years as a prosecutor in Barrow County, and I've been at Daniels and Rothman for almost 12 years now, mostly practicing family law with a little bit of criminal defense.
And are you still serving on a bench somewhere?
I am on the municipal court bench in the city of Arcade and also the city of Nicholson. Yes.
All right, great. Well, thanks for hopping on here. We'll try to be mindful of everybody's time and efficient with our work. So I hope everybody has had a chance to review the meeting minutes from October 18th. They were distributed prior to the meeting for review. I have just one thing to call to the attention of staff, and unless I misread it, there's a reference in paragraph 4 to prior commission meeting, which probably should just be a subcommittee meeting. Again, that's in paragraph 4, but with that correction, is there any other thing that anyone would like to lift up for corrections to the meeting minutes? Hearing none, is there any objection then to the adoption and approval of the meeting minutes? Hearing none. All right, thank you all for that. The minutes are approved, and we will move now to the man of the hour and the project of the year, to the calculator modernization update. Kurt.
All right, thank you, Regina. So, good news, everyone. The calculator, the modernized calculator, is set to begin its launch at 5 p.m. today. The launch of this calculator will entail taking down the current calculator. As many of y'all probably already saw, we've been distributing messaging earlier this week, advising all the stakeholders that the current calculator will be down over the weekend and it will not be usable, that it will be down for maintenance, which is true. And during this process, not to get too technical with everything, but the old calculator, it has to come down. The new calculator has to be loaded from the Amazon Web Services site, staging site, to its new URL, basically. And in addition to that, the migrated data, going back to 2016 when the calculator was first launched, most of that data, i.e. the worksheets, user profiles, all of that, most of that has been already migrated to the new site, but that is up until around, I want to say June or so. So there still has to be migrated data from anything that occurred in June to today at 5 p.m. So that takes time. Part of the reason that the calculator has to go down for an entire weekend. During this time, when it's going down, we will be meeting with IT over the weekend. We actually have a meeting set for 9 a.m. on Saturday to get updates, to do testing, to make sure everything is working properly. And then come 8 a.m. on Monday morning, God willing, it'll be seamless, and the current URL, the current web address for the current calculator will simply be linking to the new site and the new program. So that is the exciting news. We are thrilled beyond any expectation that we're finally getting this launched. It's been a roller coaster, but we're confident.
Yeah, so it has taken just a little longer than we had originally thought that it would, and that perhaps is a function of some of the things we might discuss if we get to new business. But just at a very high level, Kurt, well, first of all, does anybody have any questions for Kurt about the launch of the calculator, those logistics, what's going to happen this weekend? Anybody, any subcommittee member have any specific questions for Kurt? How would, I know there's been outreach and we've notified everybody we could think to notify about the fact that they would not be able to use the calculator over the weekend, and hopefully hopefully that does not mess up anybody for their hearings on Monday or anything of that nature in terms of access to worksheets. But what are just generally speaking, what are the types of things that will be tested this weekend to make sure that does not happen and the calculator is not down come Monday morning?
Sure. We'll be testing, obviously, the formula aspect of the calculator, making sure that, you input, your gross income, your deviations, your adjustments, all that the final result is the same as it is in the current calculator. That's number one. And perhaps the most important. Number two, the ability to share worksheets. That's a big aspect of it. So if you share a worksheet with another attorney, you enter their email address, make sure that they get it on the other end. If you have it as modify or read only, that functionality works. The other thing is sharing with the court. So if you share with the court to make sure that if you're a judge, that if your profile says that you're a judge in the calculator, that you're able to see that once a worksheet is shared with the court. And in addition to that, organizations, that if you add an organizational member, that they're able to join your organization and then see the worksheets that other members of the organization have already created. And I'm sure there's some other things I'm forgetting, but
Well, that's some of what you'll be doing again this weekend, but leading up to this, there's been testing and retesting of a variety of scenarios and working within the calculator since the first of the year, really.
correct. Really going into last year.
And we can't control this, but anyone who has not upon login on Monday morning, if somebody's logging in, the first thing they're going to be prompted to do is, I'll let you tell it, make sure I get it right, but
Sure.
I checked my password and made sure I had an updated password and knew what it was, but what's going to happen if somebody didn't respond to those emails if they do that?
The first thing that's going to happen when they log into the new calculator with their username is they're going to be prompted to change their password. One of the biggest, concerns we had, but we've put out messaging on this, weeks prior, is if the email address that you have in your profile. So what that means is, you have an email address that serves as your username. Well, when you just log in, the program is not checking to make sure that email address is still valid. The email address functions as your username. But when you log into your profile, your username, your email address that you have within your profile to get any kind of an update from the system itself must be valid. And it must be valid because when you log into the calculator initially, when the modernized calculator launches, it's going to prompt you to reset your password, and that email address that you have associated with your profile needs to be working. Otherwise, you will not get the email necessary to do a reset. So I hope that explains that.
And so what's going to be the remedy for those folks who may not have been paying attention to those emails that as they came out and just have been using the calculator since what was it, 2017, when we went to everybody has to use the online calculator, if I got the year correctly on that. What if an old email is attached to that? How will they be able to get their work, or will they be able to retrieve their work?
They likely will not be able to retrieve any old worksheets if they have an old email address that's not working. We've been through this before with IT. When a user does not have access to their old email address, we've come to this problem before. There's not a whole lot we can do to help them.
Okay, so I don't know if anybody has access to any family law listservs or anything like that. Those Facebook groups, whatever they are, I'll mention this. I think we have a statute review subcommittee meeting this afternoon. I'll also mention it to them. It might not hurt for the local family law bar sections to send out that reminder that if you have an old email address attached to your child support worksheets, you will lose access to all those worksheets if you don't change your email today by 5 o'clock, right?
Right. And
Okay.
now I will say we did send out this messaging 2 weeks ago. The same messaging was the same messaging was in there Monday when I sent out the notification, and it's been on the calculator website, reminding folks again and again and again, make sure your email is updated. So, but another reminder would be great.
Yeah, I know that Judge Davis has never had seen a case where lawyers have waited till the last minute to do their homework. But there may be those that have waited till the last minute to engage on this topic. So if there's no way to recover their work, there's no way to cover their work, but it might just be prudent to try to talk about that this weekend to see if there is any remedy for those that may have not been paying attention to the warnings that have been coming out from all different, the mediators. I know they sent out notifications. It's gone out at least twice from the state bar, family law section that I've seen. So, but I don't know if the locals have picked this up. I know Judge Bolden and I still get Western Circuit family law section emails. They've been reminded. I don't know if any of the other local family law sections have done that, but we can't help it. But it would be good to discuss with IT this weekend if there is any workaround for that. Not just the answer may be no, but I'll probably need to know that because we may all start getting some calls if folks are locked out. So if the answer is no and there's no way, we just need to know that for sure come Monday morning. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Well, anybody else have anything for Kurt on that update? Related to that is our new business discussion, which is one of the reasons that it has taken more time than was originally forecast by IT is the sheer volume of the worksheets that are in this calculator. And so Kurt, if you want to touch on that in terms of just giving us an update on that issue that has emerged through this process.
Right. So currently within the child support calculator as admin, I can see every worksheet that's ever been created. There are about 625,000 child support worksheets that have been created that the calculator is holding on to, that we're saving in our database. This proved to be quite the bottleneck when doing the modernization, and I think our vendor didn't even necessarily anticipate it being this hard. But it's kind of like, to explain it, it's kind of like it's translating something. So it's going from, French to Japanese. So you've got 600,000 worksheets that are all in, French that you've got to get over to Japanese. And that takes time. And I think, it was potentially the vendor underestimating that amount of time, but it took several months, to be honest, because it's a lot of data. A question that I had was, these worksheets from 2016, 2017, 2018, and so forth, many of these worksheets the children have already emancipated out of. My question is, to an extent, why are we holding on to this? Is there any potential for purging some of these worksheets? Because also another issue is that holding on to all this data, the more data you hold on to, the more it costs. So it's a monthly fee that we get for holding this much data. And one more, I think it's worth mentioning. With the new juvenile court case styling. Remember, we made this change, a year and a half ago or something like that. Now, children's full date of birth is on the juvenile worksheets. That was a request from the juvenile court judges, and we implemented that change. But it opens us up to potential, data breaches because we've now got the child's full name and full date of birth on these worksheets. So if we ever got potentially, compromised, that's a risk. So that's kind of the background on it.
So I'll just roll that out for discussion in the event any subcommittee member has thoughts. Is there wisdom in now that we've been working with the online calculator and the world didn't come to an end and the sky didn't fall as all of us change resistant lawyers thought it might in working online in this environment? Is there wisdom in developing a retention policy, for lack of a better word, within the calculator itself And what would be the best way to accomplish that? Judge
Well, I'll
Davis?
say I am very bad about going in and archiving or deleting any old worksheets. Just in case, I just leave them kind of hanging around forever. But if there were some sort of prompt that pulled up a list of like, these are all 3 years old, and I could just go through and like maybe uncheck any that were still active or open, I think that might be helpful. Or just, a push to archive, like everything on this list is going to archive now, and
Judge Davis?
Well, Kurt, if it goes to archive, it's still saved in the system, is it not?
Yes.
So I mean, I see it occasionally where I get a modification case and I want to see what the prior numbers are, but that's rare. I mean, this is really just a tool. Most of these child support worksheets that are years old have already been filed. They're in the clerk of court. The case is disposed. I don't see any reason to hold these sheets over X amount of time. I don't know of any duty, any open records issue, or any records retention issue at all. It's just come up with an arbitrary time and then they're purged. But I mean, again, lawyers have an ability to download this to their system. Pro se parties do. So it's not like they're losing anything. We're being somebody's closet. And I don't think that's our role.
It may be worse than a closet. It may be an attic at this point for some of these
There you go.
worksheets, very dusty, old.
Or a musty basement.
Yeah. And to your point about a data breach, Kurt, it's probably not wise to have this financial information, whether or not it's PII or PHI that's protected under HIPAA. It's probably not wise to have the world's financial information in this calculator for that period of time over this long haul. So Judge Davis, I heard you say that, we pick an arbitrary time and say child support worksheets after older than, let's just say January, for the purpose of this discussion, January 1st, 2000 will be deleted. I mean, that's really what we're telling people. We're saying it's going to disappear from the calculator. What is the right arbitrary time? Does anybody think? Well, first of all, Kurt, can we do that while everybody's thinking about what's the magic time frame to hold them? Are we able to do that?
To my knowledge, yes. I'm gonna call on Giovanni, one of our IT extraordinaires. How hard would it be, Giovanni, to just arbitrarily delete, anything 2020 and older, anything 2019 and beyond? How hard would that be?
Hello, everyone. To answer your question, Kurt, it wouldn't be too much of an undertaking. We could provide a schedule where it autonomously checks data based off date, and it will remove it based off the parameters that we set for it. Now, of course, with any data transformation or deletion, there's a small cost that may incur, but it wouldn't, how would I say? The difference being to the data that's transferred, the cost wouldn't be as much, is the best way I could put it without getting too technical. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see Katie Cannell has joined us, our member of the Child Support Commission and chair of the Statute Review Subcommittee. She frequently appears to monitor our discussions and make sure I don't go too far off the rails. So welcome, Katie. You got some thoughts on this problem of, I don't know if you've been with us through this whole discussion, but 600,000 plus worksheets we've got in the system, and there is a charge to the AOC to keep that data and save that data.
Thank you, Regina. It's nice to see you this morning. Not for the first time this week. I'm not here to monitor by any means. I'm here for inspiration. Obviously just to watch your leadership. It's fantastic. As far as I can tell, this problem came to being when we no longer utilized Excel. Right? Because before that, it was up to the users, whoever they were, judges, lawyers, pro se's, to have Excel, and they could save their stuff. And the issue we have now is that the only way to save worksheets outside of the web-based system is in PDF, or some other form that's not editable. And that can be annoying, just candidly as a practitioner. That said, I don't think it's the state's job to maintain records that were not filed with the courts. And that is not to say that some of those 600,000 whatever weren't filed with the courts, but those are saved elsewhere. Those are saved in the clerk's offices. Those are saved as filed documents. Those become pleadings. So I don't see this as an obligation. We're talking about the users. These are people who have accounts and have logged in and created an account, and then their worksheets are getting saved there. So let's think about who that is. That's judges and lawyers, and other child support professionals. I don't think it's our job to data store for them. I agree and am concerned about, what kind of onus it's putting on the AOC in terms of liability for any potential breaches and that kind of thing. But more than that, it's just a burden that I don't think that the AOC or any state entity should bear. So I think it's a pretty obvious, why are we incurring this expense situation? And I would say, I wouldn't make the period for saving any longer than 5 years, because any child support worksheets that could potentially be needed, as Judge Davis said, sometimes maybe in a modification, I go look up old worksheets, except hopefully, especially in your role as a judge, you're going to be looking at worksheets that were filed, because anything else is potentially evidence or argument that, really isn't before the court, and shouldn't be. So, and really what it does is it saves the person logging in the trouble of having to re-enter the children's names and birth dates. And if you're going back years later, you're gonna be changing the income numbers. Heck, you might even be changing which children are in or out. So don't get me wrong, I like being able to open my worksheets in my modification cases and pull what I did a few years ago. In fact, I did it this morning. Let me see if I can not have to make new worksheets for the people that I got divorced in 2019 who have called me about a modification. But my worst case scenario is that I re-enter the kids' names and dates of birth, and it's not on the state to store my data as a practicing lawyer.
So it sounds like, anybody else have anything you want to add to the discussion?
So one thing I'll say is when you go into like the open worksheets, if in one case I run 4 different worksheets, one at mediation, one before the temporary hearing, one, depending on what custody is going to be, I have to archive. I can't just delete it completely from that with like one click of a button to just delete the case completely. I have to go in and archive each worksheet and then go into the archive and delete each worksheet separately. So if it's costing money, it might help if we could just delete the whole case itself with one click, or archive the whole case itself with one click.
Will offer, I think that was a feature meant to save ourselves from ourselves, I'm speaking as a practitioner now, that somebody doesn't accidentally delete everything they just entered. But it's certainly, I think, something Kurt would agree we can look at.
Yeah.
But that 2-step full deletion process was intentional, just so somebody doesn't literally accidentally wipe out, an hour's worth of work.
Judge Davis, did you have something else? I see your hand up there.
I'm just being an echo chamber. I'm going to echo what my colleagues have just talked about. I agree 5 years is a reasonable time. I'm trying to think of worst case scenario. The trial judge doesn't move the case, it lingers on, then you get an appeal, then it comes back, and that's probably our low-hanging fruit. I do agree that I think we're missing another low-hanging aspect by not having a delete function. It goes to archives right now, is my recollection. And I think a safety tool um, uh, two-step procedures probably would be, in other words, we're having folks purge something that they know they don't need anymore. And maybe that will help, you know, our IT folks.
On the, if they, especially Judge, if there's a, to your point, a charge for removing the data later, if we do this as a system, it would be prudent to work in a scenario just like you've described, where it's a process where you're deleting. Are you sure you want to delete? That's what they do around here at the state a lot. Are you sure you want to ask for this leave? Are you sure you want to approve this leave? Because once you do it, you can't undo it. And just that two-step process would be that insurance policy against what Noel just described. So I think 5 years is the consensus. So to staff, what I would say is, let's look into putting together a presentation or a one-pager, if you will, of sort of how much it costs us to store this, how much it'll cost us to delete it en masse, with the idea that this subcommittee wants to delete all worksheets that are over 5 years. And then we can, if you'll talk to our IT older than 5 years old, if you'll talk to our IT folks about whether or not it makes sense to have that on a scheduled deletion and not be doing that piecemeal like it's every June 30th and January 1st or something like that, with the details that they think it would work best along with this upgrade or update. I hate to ask them to do anything else since they're just launching this huge calculator, but what would it be to just add this two-step process and actually allow the users to delete and not archive these and make that decision to delete them?
So for initial deployment, adding the additional feature of essentially asking whether or not are you sure to delete this data would require some additional logic, which we can implement post-deployment. That's something that we could test in development and integrate into the production environment with over the course of an evening. Now, as far as touching base on the talking point for savings, for the data that must be retained, moving into archival storage like S3 Glacier or Deep Archive can reduce storage costs up to 90%. Now, we can implement smart lifecycle policies that can automate deletion or archival storage, which also helps managing costs without manual effort. Ultimately, we should look to review and manage data retention regularly. It's honestly the key to cloud cost efficiency.
Okay.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, so if we can plan to maybe come to our next meeting with those sort of details, so that I'll double check and make sure, but I believe this subcommittee can make that decision. But if we can't, we'll submit it to the full commission just by an email vote once we get all the details ironed out. So any other comment or questions about that? I've not set a next meeting date. Our next commission meeting, I will not be able to attend. I will be in Big Sky, Montana, attending a Dave Matthews concert on that day, which is going to be awesome. And I'd like to say I will miss all of you all, but I will not. That would be false. Will not miss you on August the 1st. But so staff, if you could just you maybe present this to for me on that day in terms of what we're doing. And Kurt and I will get together, put our heads together for another meeting, this time a shorter time frame, Kurt, between our meeting and this. So keep me posted as to how long you think it'll take staff post deployment and you to work out these details, so we have all the information we need, and then we'll set the meeting.
Right, and we have some big changes effective January 1st that our IT team is going to immediately have to pivot to, which is Schedule C and the low income adjustment. So they're going to get about a 5-minute break, have some water, and then go back into the lab. So we will definitely want to meet in between now and January 1st at least once. But yeah, I'll get with you regarding a date for that, Regina.
Would that be the logical time for us to go ahead and put in this delete function?
I
Is
think
while we're working on Schedule C and just do it all in one fell swoop?
I think probably it's something I'm going to kind of pitch to IT and our developers. I think it's probably something we can do, but obviously the number one priority is Schedule C. But if Schedule
Sure.
C goes well and the low income adjustment goes well, and we don't hit any major roadblocks or hiccups with that, and the the parenting time calendar tool, now we got to build that. But as long as we don't hit any major roadblocks, I don't see that there's any reason that this couldn't be done at the same time.
Okay. All right, well, we'll know more about that at our next meeting. And is there anyone who has anything else you'd like to discuss that might comprise new business? All right, well, hearing nothing, then thank you all again for being with us. We'll get you information about the next meeting date, and we will stand adjourned at 11:38 a.m. Hope everybody has a great weekend.
All right, thank you. And Regina and Katie will